kryptonite. No bulls say it's chow time, what we about to eat tonight. What happened on Epstein Island, did it really take your life? I'm deeper than the ocean floor and higher than a satellite. Just like I'm an alchemist, I murder rubble sealskin. Walk with no religion, it's the return of the ancient Egyptians. West Coast, California, my family is Riverside. In the empire, none of us ain't a lullaby. This is where the gods dwell and a lot of mothers cry. You can feel the thunder cry. Choctaw Nation, future chief on the rise. From a different dimension, Star Trek Enterprise. I love America, but she's so dangerous, dangerous. I love America, but she's so dangerous, dangerous.
All aboard! It is time to hop aboard my spaceship, cause you are now tuned into What is the Matrix TV? I'm your host, Jason Elm Street Williams, Master of the Universe. And this week, as you know, in this month is Black History Month. But as we get started, I have an amazing co-host with me, JoJo the Great.
How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling?
Peace, brother. So it's February, the origin of Black History Month.
Cupid's calling my sister.
From Negro History Week to Black History Month and more. So did you know that Dr. Carter G. Woodson is the creator of Black History Month?
I didn't.
And so let's get right into it. So let's talk about it, the origins of Black History Month. And what is Black History Month? What is Black History Month to you, JoJo?
You know, during Black History Month, I know it sounds so contrary, but I would like to put on the Commodores. You know, I like to just kind of sit, you know, and actually educate myself and learn something new about, you know, what the power is to be Black, what the word nigga means. You know, what it is to be a king, what it is to be a queen, and what those requisitions require, you know? Sometimes you got to smoke back and just make a thought and be like, man, what does it really mean to be Black? How special really are we?
Well, what does it mean to be Black when we really take the definition of that word? We're going to get into it because we know that we were not called Black people or Negro until recently. I'm trying to fix my beanie, y'all. Excuse me. It's cold in Southern California. So let's get into a little known Black history fact. Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Now, he is an author, y'all. So it says Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded the Journal of Negro History in 1916 and began Negro History Week in 1926, designating a week in February because that month held birthdays for Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, and Booker T. Washington. This week went on to become Black History Month in 1976, designated by presidential proclamation. So right there, our grandparents didn't grow up with Black
Hey,
History
was
Month.
Booker T. Washington an Omega Psi Phi member?
Well, I know that Booker T. Washington was definitely in Riverside, California. I read a book with him and President Eisenhower. So when you go to the Mission Inn resort and spa in California, Riverside, there's a big bust of Booker T. Washington. So once again, the founder of Tuskegee Institute used to do business with the President of the United States in Riverside, California. And remember, Riverside, California was the richest city in America per capita at one time. But let's get into it, JoJo. What do you feel with Black history? Does Black history keep our people thinking as slaves and thinking as Negroes when, if we learned about our Moorish history, with that I would say, increase our knowledge of self and take us about the situation that we're currently in? And does Black history basically keep Moors, Aboriginal, Indigenous people happy slaves?
My answer is absolutely yes, because truth be told, the conceptual idea or the origination of calling us black people was more of a Eurocentric theology. It was the closest shade to our skin, so it sounded like the most rational kind of they're black. But that's not really true. Our skin goes from purple, from to green, it goes from blue, it goes from soft brown, it goes to the perfect shade of mulatto, like my skin right here, where you get 3 cream or 1 coffee. You get all
Right.
different types of shades. So the idea to be called black kind of really feeds into the Eurocentric ideas to what black people went through. See, to say what black people went through versus to say what Moors went through is two different conversations. So if I'm saying what black people went through, it's probably gonna go along the lines of Toby gonna be a good boy. A nigga don't wanna run away. I'll listen to everything you say, Saul. That's pretty much kind of what the Eurocentric idea of the narrative of being black was. But prior to that, who built the Great Wall of China?
And we talk about the Moors, the Murs, the Khans. So right here, American Webster's Dictionary, 1828. Webster's Abridged 20th Century Dictionary states, by definition, that an American is an Aboriginal or one of the various copper-colored natives found on the American continent by the Europeans. So right here, we go through pictures. You see Indians of the Bay Area, San Francisco, 1816, and you see us. Indians playing the game at a California mission right here. So before we get into what we're going to talk about with Black History Month being in the month of the Super Bowl, because we know that there's Super Bowl rituals where they build economics and also push certain satanic agendas year in and year out, but also ball games right here, the origins of ball games. And we're going
Hey,
to break
brother
it.
Jason, brother
Okay.
Jason, 'cause that was a lot of topics. Can we slow down a little bit? I always tell you on all the episodes, man, you got to talk to me like a fucking hold on. You got to talk to me like a retarded fifth grader. So for some of the things that I may have read, or some of the things I might be educated or have seen in some third parties, can you take the time to kind of educate me slowly on what
Yeah.
all this stuff you're talking about is?
Yes. So basically, today, before we get into Trump, the Mexicans, the immigrants, we need to take them first to the true beginning before 1492. Right now, they're calling this time zone, this time loop that we're in right here this month, Black History Month. Well, there's a major ritual during Black History Month called the Super Bowl, where they use black men and their athleticism to make billions and millions of dollars. But in particularly in this Super Bowl, there's two black quarterbacks, and in this year, there's been more starting black quarterbacks than ever before.
Hey,
So
slow
what?
down, brother Jason. Slow down. Hold on. Let me
So,
chime in real quick because I know you'll keep going if I don't
okay,
come in. I actually think that the Super Bowl, if we're going to talk on a technical terminology, is actually the ritual is the promotion of slavery. If you look at the idea of drafting, being drafted by your physique, your color, your build, your genetics, what you're able to do and what you're not, are you prone to arthritis? They invest and they buy these players, quotation, just like slaves. So every year when you have all these black people who are running across the field, do you remember in that scene in Django when they had the niggas fighting each other? And that literally is the quotation of what they said. They fight each other to the death and they would pay for it. So in slavery, paying black people for their athletical goals like UFC and things like that has been an ongoing thing for millennials, and it even happened within the Roman Empire, and it also happened within the Egyptian Empire as well. So it's not really to say it's totally subjective, but to say that it has actually, it's one of those problems that we don't really talk about, but it definitely is an issue. What is your feedback?
No, I definitely agree with you, brother, right there. I wanted to bank on the fact eventually when we get into it, how the Super Bowl is in New Orleans. So I wanted to talk about the history of Louisiana in these rituals. And then let's talk about some real history, y'all, as we start. So New Orleans Superdome, look at that, y'all. Have we forgotten about Hurricane Katrina? Have we really forgotten about the government once again creating events to make money and then displacing people? Because we're going to talk about Trump displacing the Palestinians as well. And then we're going to get into the Mexicans as well. But first, let's talk about how they were calling our people refugees on our own land. But if we continue to think of ourselves through the narrative of Black History Month, we most likely won't ever be able to free ourselves in the matrix that they have us program in, basically creating how we view reality. So right here, I just wanted to start it off with how this year Super Bowl is in New Orleans, and I believe they changed it from the Superdome to the Caesars Palace Arena or Dome. So right here, we talk about Black quarterbacks, and it's almost disrespectful in a sense when they say Black quarterbacks, as if it's like something new, something privileged to be. But if we understood that we're the creators of these ball games, we will understand the essence on why they had to get
Hey,
rid of
hold
this
on, hold
brother
on, hold on. Let's
Colin Kaepernick,
hold
because we're
on,
going to
hold on.
break
Let's
it.
talk about the history of it though, because I feel like for the viewers, they should at least know the history on these type of activities.
The ball games.
Well,
Well, right here, look at
well,
this
like,
picture. That's what I'm showing you. Are you looking at the
like what I was saying, the NFL, the National Football League, is an institution that was built by a certain type of person, right? So when they're talking about they're the first quarterback, that means that that's the first recorded quarterback on their institutions. Other institutions, they didn't even know the language to be able to understand who was the first. They couldn't even pronounce Ntumpu or Itwa. They couldn't print. They could not say that. They don't know what the hell that means. They just look and they say his name is Jerry. Jerry was the first quarterback. And after they institutionalize that, then it becomes their first quarterback. So go from there with knowing the history of it, because with you knowing the history, you then can give a little bit more further answers on everything else Brother
well,
Jason is telling you guys.
so right here, I have a picture in the middle of a book called The Mesoamerican Ball Game. So this is a fact you guys can type up, and you'll see so-called Moors, Murs, dark-skinned, woolly-haired people, copper tone and straight pitch black, if you look, playing ball games. So you see the little fella saying Aztec ball games, but I wanted to give an example of the Twa. So understand the wealth that we have in the economics of when we have our own land. Imagine when this whole, and this is a picture of us. So imagine us playing these games. You see, compared to everyone else,
Hey,
you
hold
see
on.
how
You
when we
remember that
play
movie?
these, and then you notice how they called it the rubber people. The rubber ball games were created by the rubber people. And who did they call the rubber people, y'all? The Olmecs, right here. So I'm going to take you to the original
Hey, hold on.
rubber.
Before you get that far, do you remember the movie El Dorado? Do you remember
Yeah,
the scene?
we're talking
You know,
about
yeah, so in the movie El Dorado, when the white boys went over there and the Aztecs were teaching them how to play the game they so happened to be good at, and they were just looking around. They literally had to teach them all of the technical details, and they all looked at each other and said, how do we play this? So for those of you who haven't seen it, go watch the El Dorado scene. It's an old Disney movie you can watch on YouTube, and it'll give you a little bit of explanation for the proof and evidence to which what he's saying has actually occurred.
And so right here, who are the Olmec people? The name Olmec, they say, means rubber people, or the Nahal or Nahatal in the Aztec language. And right here you see us. But coincidentally, Donald Trump wants to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Could that be because this is truly the Gulf of the Amorocans or the Amorocans, or the Gulf of the Moors, the Amares or the Meres, the Mers? So look at the connection, y'all. Look how you see the Yucatan Peninsula right across the street from where? Florida. Right across the street from Louisiana, Alabama, Texas, Veracruz, all where we find ourselves. That predates 1492. And we're going to get into structures in Louisiana that they have found that predate pyramids in Egypt, y'all. So right here, you can see why they have to make us think that we're the first Black president, the first Black quarterback, the first Black person to win country, because it strips you of being a MOOR and a MOOR, which takes you to being an Aboriginal and the true American. And you have a culture of wealth within those words. And this is why they must keep you thinking as a Black person. But you are not Black or lack. You are bright. You come from a culture. So they use these words, which are spells. You spell these words. And when you spell these words, they trap you in worlds. So word, W-O-R-D, and world, W-O-R-L-D. Your words become worlds. So if they can use certain words to trick us, they can then create the reality and erase our history and replace it with his story. Or I would say our story, which is now the mysteries, which is my story, right? So here we are, the originators in Louisiana. So right here, you see Mardi Gras going up in February. So see how they play and siphon our energy? So we have Super Bowl Sunday coming up in Louisiana, New Orleans. That's economics. Mardi Gras. And then next they're going to have in the Bay, where the Moors were as well, the NBA All-Star Weekend. But right here, look at the Zulus, y'all. Look at these beautiful feathers and headdresses of the Washita Moors. So this is in reverence of how we dress. So imagine the gold plates that we wore, because this is what's the word? A replication of the jewels that we wore. You see the peacock feathers. So this is evident that in New Orleans, it was the capital of the Washita Moors. And I want everyone listening to this to study the Louisiana Chase or the Louisiana Purchase. So right here, you see the Zulus. So when I was in Africa, I studied underneath the Zulu nation. And coincidentally, you see the same dress and the same headdresses in Louisiana that you see in Africa, in the southern tip of what they now call South Africa. Why? Because we are the same people. Evidence of when the lands were connected, just like your cousin down the street or your cousin in Texas to California. Same people. You guys just come up with different dresses, different slangs, and different ways of life depending on your environment. So here we have proof that Louisiana, New Orleans recognizes the so-called Black Indian. So when you go to New Orleans, it's not a weird thing like in California when you tell a person that we're Black Indians and Moors. It's not taboo. As you see Europeans or pale-skinned Europeans to the right celebrating with Moors and Zulus. So I urge everyone to go to New Orleans, but just don't go as a tourist. Go knowing your voodoo.
With
Go
some
know,
intention.
yes, with intention, because that's how you unlock your mind. So if you're not able to go to Egypt, go to Louisiana knowing that the Egyptians or the Cometians, the people of Tamaray, are the Washita.
And
And
check this
then,
out. So no,
go ahead.
check this out. The vibrations of Louisiana, although not fruitful in finance, is very fruitful in a lot of other types of wisdom. That's why it's not really solicited to the public. It's not really promoted like that, because the moment people start making these little trips and they start getting these little intermediate vibrations from, as far as their culture and things like that, that Louisiana has a very, very strong culture. Majority of them practice voodoo over Christianity. So with that being said, you got to understand you're closer to your culture over there. They can teach you about things you'd never even consider to even believe to even listen to.
I agree, JoJo. I'm going to share the screen and play a quick video for y'all. See if we can get it going.
Ancient civilization underwater off the coast of Louisiana. Let's take a look. So this retired architect turned amateur archaeologist, George Gillet, hope I'm saying the right name right, claims to have found the remnants of ancient civilization submerged underwater somewhere near the Chandelier Islands. Apparently, there are these large granite mounds underwater there, which he is claiming there are the ruins of an ancient civilization, including a pyramid. His theory proposes that these granite mounds are artifacts from a 12,000-year-old lost city. Of course, this has not been confirmed, been met with some skepticism. More research needs to be interesting,
So right there,
nonetheless. What do y'all think?
I think that right there is just one of the hidden gems of what we continuously had in the past. We had subterranean people. We had subterranean machines. We had y'all ever seen them hieroglyphs? When you be seeing them pictures of the hieroglyphs and it looks just like submarines. Like we had the technology. We had these beautiful things that came from the water. We are such a magnificent people. And man, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No,
You were
but
saying,
all I was saying was, our people really, we come from so many different things. And the moment you see your people on History Channel, that's the moment you have to be like, nigga, why the fuck they got me on History Channel?
in what aspect? As a slave or as a god? What do you mean?
Shit. They talk about slavery a little bit, a lot of bit, and then kind of bit with the depending on the period of time and what channel you're on, but more so when they start talking about we've discovered ancient waters, we've discovered ancient pyramids, we've discovered ancient caves, we've everything that they discover has our signature on it.
Well, that's the word moo. The word MOOR is a symbol of the water symbol that we find all throughout the world. It's a hieroglyph. It's a culture. When we say the word MOOR, mur, it's reference to a culture, not a religion, y'all. A culture is a way of life. A culture is a way of being able to look up at the sky and read the star maps. Hello, can you imagine how brilliant our ancestors were and the education system that was passed along that they're trying to make us lose? So when we hear Donald Trump saying that he's destabilizing education and things of that nature, maybe this is our opportunity to say, hey, let's start grasping and taking a hold of our destiny. Once again, I know the problem's going to be with the economics for our people to create our own charter schools and private schools, but at least now it's an opportunity to where they're telling you it's time to educate your own people.
Hey, real quick, brother Jason. So, just for the panel, back in the day, I know we say this all the time, but back in the day, they really weren't trying to teach them mathematics, literature, history, and science. They didn't really have a credential accredited system as if though we have today. Because the moment we made education a business, we then incorporated these different type of brackets, GPAs, then we incorporated things like colleges you can go to, which then became a financial scam in reality. Back in the day, they would teach you to survive. So neuroscience, mathematics, and all these things were just natural things because they wanted you to be able to build spacecrafts, or they wanted you to be able to have natural geometry. These things were just natural things within their community. It wasn't like how when we go to the store and we go get a bag of some sour candy, everyone knows when you eat that shit, your freaking jaw's gonna kind of go like that. That's how they were with mathematics, geometry, everything within the middle, but they weren't necessarily trying to teach them to get a job. They were teaching them to survive.
Well, I agree. I agree with that. And that's what they don't have us doing. They have us teaching to be workers. As we know, the famous Rockefeller quote is, we're not here to educate people, we're here to make them workers. So that's what it's designed for. The education system isn't designed to make us gods and rule over them, or for us to be self-sufficient. Why? Because the moment we become self-sufficient again, we no longer work for them. We're no longer going to allow someone to look at us as Black people and talk to us as Black people, because we won't put up with it. We will no longer put our kids in their school systems because we know that it teaches us to be less than and teaches others to treat us less than. So it's imperative we take our kids out of the education system, but we also have to have a place to go. We have to have our land. So right here, let's take it to the Washita again. So we could see that we had land, whether they call it the people of Appalachia or the Mississippian culture, y'all. So just like ancient Kemet in Egypt and the Sudan and all the various cultures and tribes that they teach us in Africa, we had the same exact situation going on this side of the land. Remember, the land was connected before the big earthquake and divulge that created seas and separated us. Remember, it was.
And then they said that was the grand shift, and this
Yes.
is that and the third. Yeah.
And so let's call it prehistoric times. They love to say prehistory. What is prehistory? Prehistory is before the rule of the European. So right here, you see the maps of all these various cultures. And when they say culture, that means math, science, agriculture, family, communication, trade, people getting along enough. So as much as they say we were at war all the time, there couldn't have been war to the level we see today. Why? Because you cannot create culture at war. That's what the European, he was never able to create culture because he was always at war with himself and his own people. So in order to learn culture, either he was taught or he would steal it by murdering or observing. And so once again, I want everyone to look at these maps if you can see. So like you hear Seminole, Choctaw, Washita, Blackfoot, all these various tribes that you hear your grandmothers tell you that you came from, these are cultures. And within these cultures, we can live in that, y'all. But being Black, what has that produced for us? It allows us to tap dance and celebrate like you're going to see this weekend. You're going to see Black people dancing, talking about Jesus and complaining, saying the same thing over and over and over again. Meanwhile, when you look at the Mexican Day Parade, or the Mexican month, every year they're progressing. Every year they're progressing. Or when you see the Chinese lunar celebration, they already have a culture, whether it's their food, the way they dress, the way they greet each other, the way they clean up the streets. This is the culture that we hold on to. This is the culture that garners the wealth and respect from all nations, because all nations, when you wear the fez, when you wear this, they know that you are in your right state of mind, or at least they can look at you, and instead of looking at
Slow
you as
down.
a black person,
Hold on, slow
they
down.
then can start thinking of your culture
Hold
just
on.
through your
Because
headset.
for those of you who don't know what the Ankh is, and for you don't know who the Fez is, and you don't know all the other beautiful things that this brother just shared with you, let's slow a little bit down, because I know that a lot of listeners are still stuck up on the Jesus comment you just said. So, tap dancing for Jesus, what did you mean by that?
As far as the Jesus comment, what did I say?
You said all these, different beliefs and stuff like that, basically like these narratives. It has, the black folks tap dancing for Jesus, and you
Okay.
know,
Well, it's the same repetitive cycle. It's not evolving. Basically what they do is they martyr our so-called superheroes. So they martyr the Jesuses, they martyr the Malcolm X's, Harriet Tubmans, all these dead so-called black people. And instead of becoming that and elevating from that, you're praising them every month. It's as if you only get praise when you die, instead of being that while you're living and creating the heaven on earth for which you seek now. So if they can hide the statues of you being great outside of mythological characters, then you can't. You're not going to evolve. But when you see these statues of the Washita MOOR and you can see a headdress similar, well, if you have an opportunity in an education system to expand on that, that's going to take your mind further than spending 12 years of you being forced to learn George Washington, the Declaration of Independence, and all these things that occupy your mind that when you get to a certain age are useless. So when even looking at the statue, what do you think about? Do you think about how they what uh technology did they use to get the basalt and the stone? Because clearly you can't chisel that. But in school, they taught us that there was nobody in North America at the time. So here we go, y'all. Poverty Point. These are some of the artifacts that are found in Poverty Point, Louisiana, y'all, during a time period to when they said there was no agriculture, there was no high advanced civilization in North America. They have found a lot of these mounds on the campus of LSU. Louisiana State University sits on top of an ancient Washita city, and I'm going to show you. So right here, Poverty Point, y'all, look it up. Poverty Point is a complex of 6 mounds in a 6 semicircular ridges built about 1500 BC. So 1500 years before Christ. The earthworks at this site were the largest in the Western Hemisphere at the time. Many of the artifacts found here show these Indians had an extensive trade network. So that means that they had boats and they had wheels, they had technology. And when we learn about the ancient Egyptians and we learn about the mounds and the pyramids, we learn that they harnessed electricity. So here we go at the pictures of Poverty Point right here. Poverty Point is one of the most unique Native American sites in North America. Native Americans, Moors, constructed the site about 3,400 years ago. This Native American group constructed mounds and bridges unlike any other Native site. It is known as the North America's first city. When natives lived here, they worked extremely hard, traded with other native groups, and held special ceremonies. But when we look at the actual structure, look, you guys see a pyramid, don't you? But you also see like a coliseum. They say cities, but I see like a sound resonator. Like when you go to Red Rock, or when you go to the Hollywood Bowl, and look in the center, it's like an obelisk. So for me, that was ancient technology when vibrating, and it's next to the river. So we would use that water, use certain crystal electricity to maneuver that water into certain channels. And through that, we could vibrate electricity, energy, grow crops bigger. I'm sure we live longer. And so this is why they hide our culture from us, because it predates, like Jojo was asking, the worship of Jesus. So if we understand that we as a people predate Jesus and Jesus worship, and we had a culture of peace, justice, righteousness, and harmony, where we were able to heal ourselves and we weren't living in mud huts. Because what it is that most Black people think when of Jesus, they feel that if it wasn't for Jesus and them being taken out of Africa, they would be living like the TV shows and what they show Africa. And so it's like Jesus saved them from being on the bottom, and that they're almost better than the so-called Africans in a sense. That, I mean, who else do Black people in America have a chance to look down upon unless it's themselves, the African or islanders? And once again, that causes confusion and division. But if we can allow ourselves to understand our Aboriginal, our true American history as what they call Moors and Moors, then we can attach to our wealth. But for me personally, Jojo, Black History Month is a time to celebrate, because most of our people do not know, but at the same time, it's time to elevate. So, like you said, what's the difference between Moorish history versus Black History Month, y'all? And so right here, Jojo, you there?
Yeah.
So I'm going to share, can't be long, I got to go, okay. I'm going to show a quick video real quick. Of the Washita Moors. It'll allow me to play it. Here it is.
Of the United Nations Summer Conference. These people were recorded as the oldest indigenous people on Earth. In the next few minutes, we'll tell you about a very old and ancient people, the first Americans, the Washita de Mounds. Although it is known by archaeologists, historians, and anthropologists that an old and ancient people occupied this land before the American Indian, up until recently, not much effort has been made to educate the general public of this fact.
People ask, what are the Washita Moors? What's a Washita? What's a Moor? And understand, I am a Washita Moor. The Washita Moors have not gone anywhere. We've not disappeared. We're still here. It's part of American history that most people want to talk about, but beyond just American history, the Washita, we have our own history. The history of the Moors is there. It's been twisted and distorted, and it's just murky legends and the stories that kind of hide the evidence of the Washita and the Moors. The evidence of the Washita is very prevalent. It's just not being promoted and being taught in the education system. No one wants to talk about a race of people who were here, civilized, organized, and giant Black people.
The Washita are the dark-skinned original inhabitants of North and South America. They have been referred to as the pre-Columbian civilizations, the prehistoric mound builders, the diggers, and the ancient ones. Certified legal documents of colonial and Spanish and French explorers identified the Washita as the ancient occupants of America. The Washita Nation are akin to the Moors of Northwest Africa and are responsible for building the highly advanced geometric earthworks and sacred burial mounds found all over this continent.
But people always ask, who are the mound builders? When did they exist? The mound builders are the indigenous original inhabitants of North and South America. The mound builders did not exist in a vacuum in one time period. We have always been here, and we shall always be here.
Modern science teaches that all the continents on the earth were once connected in one piece of land. They call it Pangea. Washita history actually says the same thing as do the scriptures. The Washita, the indigenous people of this land that we now call America, were on this land when it was connected in one piece. When this land was connected to what is now called Africa, the Washita were on this land that we call America. So the Washita do not come from anywhere. We did not come to America from someplace else. We were already here. We have always been here. Back to the time when scientists called the land Pangea, when it was one piece. So we have always been on this land. Poverty Point, located in Pioneer, Louisiana, near Monroe, is recognized as the second largest earthen pyramid in North America. This ancient site, called the Great Bird Mound by the natives, was a cultural center for the advanced temple, mound, pyramid civilization. Poverty Point, as it is currently called, is located in northeastern Louisiana in Washita Parish in the city of what is now called Monroe, or near Monroe. The Washita referred to it as the Bird Mound because there is a very large earthen mound in the shape.
Hey, Jason, real quick. So, is it coincidental that those hieroglyphs are not or what? Yeah, I think that's right. When they have like those little weird things that happens in cornfields and the type of design that the Moors had. Is there any relationship between the two? I can't hear you, bro.
Ask that again. You were saying crop circles and hieroglyphs. What was your question?
You see that picture right there, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of look like something the aliens or what they would allude to?
Well, that's what she was saying, that they left crop circles and bird mounds. So just like we find petroglyphs that they say only found in Riverside County, we find them all over. So we once again find the European line again, because the more you study ancient America, 1492 pre-Columbian civilizations, they'll always say, "Oh, the first pyramid mound in Louisiana." Then they'll say the largest pyramid in Mexico. Basically, they're telling you that there were advanced civilizations all throughout the Americas pre-Columbus. So while they've been distracting us the whole time, they've been excavating these sites, stealing our treasure, stealing our knowledge, hiding it from us. So yes, Jojo, there is a correlation because we had our own Air Force. Just like the European has the Air Force and so-called NASA, we have and had the same thing. Clearly, we were able to have an aerial view because the only way to create such perfect mathematical precision is to have an aerial view of these places before civil engineering takes place. So once again, you were speaking of the advanced machine. So if people can only think of themselves as black, of course we see black inventions, but what about the Moorish inventions, Jojo?
Hey, real quick, I just want to just bring something to attention. I really do have to put some admiration behind the fact that every time you say more, you understand. It's like money, more. You want land, more. Opportunity, more. Every time you say the word more, it alludes to something greater and abundant. I think that's also one of them hidden gems you kind of have to think about real quick, but I do enjoy that.
That's a beautiful way to look at it, and that's just within the word, like you said, mi amor. The greatest word of Spanish was love,
Beautiful
or amor.
word.
You know, so right here, you guys, you see the Mississippian culture, so-called Indians, the Mississippian Valley Moors. So look at their landscape, y'all. Look at the advanced buildings that you still see in reminiscence of. Look at their clothing. So when you see their clothing, how did they make clothes like that? What so-called black people do you know can go out in the wilderness today and use their environment to create such clothing? So we have to learn what was our education system when we were in that state of mind. Prior to calling ourselves black, colored, and Negro, what were we? What were we referred to as? And those words can refer us forward. So when we look back to the future or to the past, we can propel ourselves to the future, just like Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who created Black History Month recently. So he stated, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. He will find his proper place and he will stay in it. You do not need to back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will protest until one is made for his use. His education demands it. And so this is where you see so-called black people today, happy with crumbs, demanding civil rights, small things instead of their land, because when you're stuck celebrating black history, for me, it keeps you away from your Moorish history, which is your land here in America, which by birthright and by law is yours. And so, how do we use these months to propel ourselves into a higher atmosphere, JoJo, as I go through these indigenous
You know what's really
Aboriginal?
funny? Hold on. You know what's really funny, man? With everything that you're saying, from the beautiful laws of the Moors, or not laws, but the beautiful art within everything in the middle that you just said. In America, I came to the conclusion that the black people, this is my core belief. I believe are in, the more that they dig into the church, and the more they dig into their history, the further away it pulls.
Takes you off. I'm gonna bring you back in. Let's do a quick video of this person explaining what we're talking about on a quick commercial break.
The best way to gain control of the most intelligent, powerful species on the planet would be to completely divide them from the love within themselves. As soon as they are old enough to begin creating an understanding of who they are, force them into a system that teaches them that it is wrong to be yourself if yourself is different from what is accepted as normal. Confuse them about their own biological makeup so that they think that permanently altering their body is the answer to happiness. Require their daily attendance at an institution that makes them focus only on the information that is provided. Make them attend that institution from age 5 until an adult and repeatedly test them. Give them an explanation to everything so that they never have a chance to make their own assumptions of the world. Scold them and humiliate them if they suggest an opinion that opposes that of their authorities. Keep reminding them of how cruel their ancestors were to each other in the past and broadcast how cruel they are to each other in the present. Only show them tragedies on the news so that they live in fear and think the worst of one another. Convince them that their species used to be that of an incognizant wild animal, Make them think that their very existence is so incredibly random that they lack purpose and struggle to make sense of a creator. Tell them that their kind is as smart as they've ever been so that they don't question the integrity of the system that they're in. Provide them idols with artificial beauty and use them as examples of what it is to look perfect so that they are never content with their own appearance and can't help but to compare themselves amongst each other. Create addictive digital platforms that rank them by numbers so that they base their self-worth off of the amount of followers. The best way to gain control of the most intelligent, powerful species on the planet would be to completely divide them from the love within themselves. As soon as they are old enough to begin creating an understanding of who they are, force them into a system that teaches them that it is wrong to be yourself if yourself is different from what is accepted as.
So right there was a perfect example of what they do to us during the education system. So we're going to go into a quick few videos of who the Washita MERS are as we end the episode soon to show you the Super Bowl rituals taking place in Louisiana. But first, us as the Aboriginal people of Louisiana, the ball games and how they use us as the battery to their ball games and Super Bowl rituals to make an economy, economics. So once again, here we go with some more knowledge on the Washita MERS.
At the base of the bird, at the foot, there are 6 concentric ridges composed of earth, and the Washita actually had their homes located on these ridges that at one time measured as high as 5 feet.
In a Western education world, Poverty Point has been identified as the oldest community in North America, in that Poverty Point was a complete city in construction. Its dynamics, it's the civil engineering that went to design the city has been copied for thousands of years, and the community is in the shape of a concentric rings, several concentric rings, and these rings are duplicated over and over again in the U.S. Congress, where the seats are laid out, in the Roman Senate. If you go to most entertainment venues, a theater, there you'll find that modern-day theaters that are acoustically designed are in the same formation as Poverty Point, and Poverty Point being a place that is known to be as old as, or as young as, 12 centuries before the birth of Christ. When you speak of Poverty Point, you speak of a time that wasn't supposed to exist. Poverty Point, at its height, not at the beginning, but at its height, was at least 1,000 years before any agriculture was supposed to occur in North America. So Poverty Point has served as an anomaly for years when scientists came in and archaeologists came in and argued that there's no way this could exist. The archaeologists go and do research. They don't even have a name for the time period that they find artifacts at Poverty Point. And what's more, at Poverty Point, not only did they find artifacts there that would date back 1,000 years, but they were enduring years, and that these people showed a legacy of continuous occupation at Poverty Point. In that, I mean that they would do research and they would dig down 1 foot, and they might find something that was 4,000 years old. People might just find something 5,000 years old. Further down, 6,000 years old. So here you have evidence of a legacy of continuous occupation.
A commonly known place right here in Baton Rouge, the Indian Mounds on LSU campus, is actually a Washita site that predates Poverty Point.
We know that history has taught us in Western culture that Indians were a group of hunter-gatherers who supposedly came across the Bering Straits about 12,000 years ago and inhabited North America. And I'm here today to tell you that the mounds are not the product of an Indian culture. They're the product of the indigenous people, the original mound building, pyramid building, woolly head, black people. Here today at LSU, we'd explore some of the common history and mythology about the origin of the original civilizations in North America. Here the sign reads, hunter-gatherers built these 2 mounds 5,000 years ago. It goes on to read, they are older than the great Egyptian pyramids and predate Poverty Point, long believed to have been the oldest earthen mounds in North America. So here we have evidence once again of slight contradiction, but it's good because it says they are pyramids and predate the Egyptian pyramids in Egypt.
You're muted.
So right there, y'all, it proves and shows that Poverty Point predates the pyramids in Egypt. So right there, how does that make you feel when you know that you predate Black history? Lana, how do you feel?
Oh, well, first, peace to everyone. I just got in from the gym. Shout out to UFC and Corona. Shout out to whoever's on this. Who's here with us? Anywho, I'm just hopping in, so
What's
you got to give me a
happening?
second to catch up.
Hey,
What's
hold
up,
on.
JoJo? I'm just
As
getting in
soon
from
as
the
I
gym.
started talking about that, it unlogged me out. I couldn't sign in.
Wow.
Them mama jammas. But hey, family, look, I have to get ready for work and all that. I love you guys, and I gotta go hop back in the Matrix.
All right, brother. We'll see you in a bit.
Wah.
Love you guys. Have a nice night.
Bye.
All right, peace.
Love you, JoJo.
What were you saying, Lana?
Ooh, what did I miss? So no, I said I'm just getting in from the gym. Everyone at UFC Fit and Corona says what's up to you, Jason. They miss you. So yeah, I'm just hopping in. I'm trying to catch up. What's going on? What are we talking about? What is this? We are the originals.
Well, yeah, so we've been breaking down. First, I wanted to break down the Super Bowl ritual, and I was telling everybody how the Super Bowl was in Louisiana. So, in order for us to break down the ritual, let's talk about the people of Louisiana. And this being what is the Matrix TV and so called Black History Month, it's a great point to show how us as a people predate Black history. So, what is the true American history prior to Columbus? So, they're using the Super Bowl to make billions and millions of dollars this weekend, right? So
Hey,
let's
hold
talk
on.
about the
I love
ball
you
game.
guys too. I'm sorry. I love you guys too.
All right, bro.
Go.
So long story short, we were talking about the ball games as you see the picture here. So I was linking that to how us as the originators have been our memory wiped out in a sense of us being the originators of the rubber ball games. So when they say the first Black quarterback in an NFL record, 15 Black quarterbacks, it's a celebration, but really it's a mind trick because it's telling you to celebrate that you being Black. It's great that you're able to be Black in a quarterback, which is a leader. But if you understood that you are the creator of the rubber ball game, you are the original quarterback. So this is why you should not refer to yourselves as a Black person, because if you understood, imagine if it said the first Moorish quarterback. It would sound weird because you would be like, well, Moors and Moors are a culture. They're Aboriginal people worldwide, whether it's Egypt, Atlantis, the Americas, all over. So these rubber ball games, Lana, they use the ignorance of us not knowing who we are to make money in an economy, basically, off of our ignorance. And we know that there's racism in sports. So when we look at Colin Kaepernick kneeling down, what happened to that? What happened to Black men standing firm on business? What happened to at least a group of us saying, we're not going to play? And matter of fact, what would happen if all the Black players had stood on business and boycotted the Super Bowl? What would have
That would
happened
be a good
if
idea.
that breaks their system? That's how you
Yeah,
get them. And that's how we were talking about last episode with the boycotts, the bus boycotts. The only reason that they stopped and integrated with that is because when we stopped using their buses, they lost money. And so it's the same thing. If black men don't participate in their ball game leagues, because we're the creators of the ball game, they go bankrupt. This is why they integrated professional sports in college sports, is because the leagues were going bankrupt. Just like the prison system. If we're not committing crime, if we're not in their cities, who is going to fill up their prisons? When we
true
understand
that.
who, go ahead.
No, I said true that. No, I was just thinking like how athletic we are, even in what they consider to be older age. They tell us, they make us think when we get to be a certain age that we can no longer be as athletic as we see basketball players and football players. But you could be in your 40s, especially when you're a god or a nine ether being. You can go longer. You know what I'm saying? You don't need like all the what do they use to make themselves go faster? What's that drug they use?
Steroids.
Steroid. Yeah, we don't need steroids. We are naturally athletic beings. So they use us as like they put us in these arenas and they use us as entertainment. They cipher our energy and they make money off of us. So like you said, what if we just stop letting them cipher our energy, use that energy towards something else, like, I don't know, building up our own worlds, building up our own land, taking that energy. Like I said, the last live, try something
Keep
different
talking,
because
keep talking.
it sounds like we're going in a loop, like we're going in a loop, loopity loo, loopity loo. It's the same program. So we got to try something different instead of um, entertaining like the basketball games, the football games that they have every year, the Super Bowl. Like Jason was saying, unplug from that, stop entertaining it, stop giving it your energy, and let's build up our own nation and let's build up our own sports and come up with our own system so that we can stop entertaining and giving energy to the system that they have. I believe that's what page you're on and what you're saying when it comes to these sports, because I never even knew it. I never really knew how football worked until one day it was spelled out to me why football is such a lucrative sport, or any sport for that matter. In Vegas, it's lucrative, it's hot. People are betting on this. Some people, this is their livelihood. They bet so much money on sports. That's, to me, that's messed up. Like, don't you feel like an animal when you're athletic, you're good, they know you're good,
Every
so they're like, oh, let me get you in the gym and let's build you up to make you human, and then put you out and everyone's betting on you. Like, don't feel like an animal. You might as well be in a zoo. So unplug from their zoo mentality, giving them so much energy, and let's do our own thing.
you
Facts.
said it perfectly, Goddess. It's modern day slavery in another
Woo!
form. They don't like to have us say that we're slaves. So they'll say, "Oh, the slaves were hung and all this." No, let's call it for what it is. She just said it. The goddess said it. And in the middle, who is it? The economic of sports, the black woman. Because who gives birth to the black man? The woman. So once again, they
The
use
woman.
Yes, they use our moms. They use the black woman mind state to teach us that we're black instead of the MERS. Because when we understand we're the MERS and Moors and the true Americans, we're going to create our own leagues again. Why would we continue to be the batteries for those who have colonized us and those who oppress us? And then when we complain about economics, most of our complaints is about economics, when there's enough land on the planet for us to go anywhere. So what is the problem? Why is it that all these other nations seem to be building that everyone else's problem seems to be the European, whether it's the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mexicans. I mean, one one person has been picking on everyone, and then it seems as if the world is waiting on another group of people to wake up. So meanwhile, Lana, as our people remain ignorant and remain black, those who still have our people mentally enslaved, they now use us to create their wealth. And so right here, you,
Correct.
you nailed it. So they use the weight room. So imagine all the money. So from a kid, most black families put their kids in sports, football. So
Right.
they have little league. Now they have tackle football. So now kids are getting hurt kids shouldn't even be playing tackle football like that, banging their heads together. That's insanity. The only
Oh
reason you're
wait.
really the only go ahead, but the only reason
I,
that you're allowing your kids truly to play football is because you think that one day they'll make it in the NFL. Because there's other ways to be tough. There's other ways to build friendship, camaraderie, and to stay in shape. Why are you
oh
allowing your
wait.
son
Hold.
to bang his head and rattle his brain at a young age? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that my son's a pretty big kid, and he was scouted pretty much his whole life because he's so big. But I was gonna say the diet or the diet. I should say that they have these athletes on all horrible. Like you give telling the kids to eat pie and steaks and whatnot, and then you expect them to get out there. Really, what it does is when they eat like food like that, they give them into their
You're breaking up.
animalistic
You're
spirit.
breaking up. Are you moving? You're breaking up. Oh no. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so they give them that food, so they can get into their animalistic spirit. So they give them steaks and, feed them food that really is just going to weigh them down. So when they get on the football field, they get into their animalistic spirit. So they get out there and the objective is to tackle and charge. You know what I mean? So the
Right.
the diet that they put these young kids on is horrible. And then when they get older, they're just big and obese. You know, just because you're out there running, some of them don't even run like that. They just kind of stand there and they're big walls, so that when people run into them, so you're being used, whether it be your kids or whether you get older and you go into these leagues. They're jacking your body up, all in the name of them getting rich. And then next thing you know, you get a concussion. Next thing you know, you can't think right, you can't speak right because you got knocked upside the head so many times. It's a wrap for you. But guess what? They still got money off of you. They're
Exactly.
investing. They're investing that money off of you. That's out there working out, letting them feed you nasty food and get banged up. Now that's something right there.
So you hit it on the scale because that's exactly what it is. It's an industry, whether it's the food they're making money off of. I was speaking of the weight room. Even look at the jerseys. Think of the money that they make on the jerseys. Think of the money that goes into painting the field, the people who make the footballs. And so, once again, they use us to make millions and billions. We don't own the football companies who make the football jerseys, the paint for all that. So all those different industries we're not a part of. So why do we still continue to participate? So do you feel that sports are rigged at this point, Lana? Sage Mo said that ain't Mahomes a mulatto? Definitely, and I think that they're playing on that as well, brother. They're showing you if you look at his family, you can see how quick that when you mix in, if your kid doesn't marry into one of us again, that whole Aboriginal dark skinned woolly haired look is gone. But we'll see who wins. But what do you feel with the NFL, Lana, in sports? Do you feel that it's rigged?
Yeah, I felt like it was rigged some time ago. there's just certain things like certain basketball players do, or you'll see like a play and you're like, there's no way he missed that ball, or there's no way he missed that shot. So yes, it's definitely, I think it's rigged. Like I said, it's a lucrative business. There's betting involved. Anytime they have bets like that involved, they're most likely going to rig some games. They're going to pay off some refs. Why wouldn't they? It's a show. Like, we're watching this thinking is real, but everything to me is a show and it's rigged. Even the news is rigged. So why wouldn't sports be rigged? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening, and that's the whole point.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense because we go into Las Vegas, right? I don't know if you guys remember the movie Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans. It was showing you how the Raiders were betting, and in one of the movies, the player blew his head off in the middle of the field. But I was trying to link that up with blue chips and with Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal, and it was showing you how in college basketball years ago, players were shaving points. And then, of course, the ultimate tragedy, if you guys remember, Michael Jordan, was the death of Michael Jordan's father linked to him and his gambling addiction and gambling debts. So it also
Interesting.
goes into that. So people forget about that. Michael Jordan was forced to retire. He had to change his number. His father got
Wow.
murdered, and then he admitted that he had a gambling addiction. A guy even wrote a book, Michael and Me, Our Gambling Addiction. And then Pete Rose, one of the top hitter of all time, they said in Major League Baseball, he admitted to betting on sports. So imagine how many others got involved with who? What's that in the middle, Lana? The
Las
American
Vegas.
Mafia in Las
Mm-hmm.
Vegas. And so right there, everything always
Viva Las
leads
Vegas.
to criminal activity. So once again, not only are they using us in various industries, y'all, it goes back to criminal activity to where they're placing bets. Right now, I guarantee you they're going to announce, oh, this rich person placed a bet on the Chiefs. So imagine all that money. I guarantee you that there's bets on who's going to make the first down, how many interceptions there's going to be, how many field goals there's going to be. So within that game and time period, and then the yards, people can make different bets and make money off of that. Once again, us being the battery for different industries. So as we start closing it out, we'll probably do another live episode tonight. But we start closing it out, and we'll do more episodes, y'all, on the origins of Black History Month, from Negro History Week to Black History Month and more. So as we start closing it out, Lana, what is Black History Month to you?
Black History Month is a month where.
Can't hear you. Hello? Your mic is off. Microphone check. Can't hear you.
1 2 1 2. I don't know. Microphone check. 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
What'd you say? Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
It's like you're away from the phone and your volume's low.
Let's see.
Now
My
say
volume, I
it.
just turned it up.
There you go.
Can you hear
There
me?
you go.
Microphone check.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Black History Month. You asked me what is Black History Month to me.
Yeah, what is Black History Month to you? Because earlier we talked about the origins of Black History Month.
Don't get me started. I remember one year, this gentleman gave me a tip, and he said, "Lana," he said, "it's Black History Month, and I wanted to give you an extra tip for all your hard work." I'm like, what? Yeah, it's so it makes us it makes people, it makes other races ignorant. You know, they look at us like, oh, those poor black people.
Mm.
Let's give them a month, you know, to just show that we appreciate everything that you do. And I don't want to curse in the house, so I'm not gonna say the words, but get the F out of my face with that nonsense. If you don't knock it off, I'm sorry that y'all were lied to about how creative we are and how we're the originals. I'm sorry they lied to you, because we're not. And to give a what you call our race, black people, you call us black, to give us a month and say, oh, we're gonna dedicate this to you, and not even show us the still not show us the truth. It's a joke to me. That's what Black History Month is to me. It's a joke. You dedicate a month
Well, we were
to.
saying how did you? I didn't even recently know this until digging further for the episode. But Black History Month started in 1976. That,
Mm,
that's when it was designated by presidential proclamation, and it was started in it was started with Negro History Week in 1926. And because of that month, it was Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, and Booker T. Washington. And that week became Black History Month. So up until recently, but they were saying that our achievements weren't even celebrated. So I can understand how not too long ago it was like, hey, we have Black inventors, give us some type of love. But we also must learn to evolve out of the word black and understand our true American heritage. So go ahead, Lana, what you were saying with black history compared to Moorish history or what you know of. I don't know if
yeah.
that, like I was showing you, look at, as we close it out with the Louisiana, we broke down the Black Indians and the Zulus. You remember when we went to Louisiana and they
Heck
were
yeah.
happy to teach us about voodoo. They were happy to say that Black Indians were already here. Even the Europeans told us that there were pyramids and mounds, and they would take us there. You remember that?
I do. I can't forget it. That's where the roots are at. Louisiana. Um yeah, it's just when you visit there too, again, it's a slap in the face when they want to create a specific month dedicated to quote unquote black people, which is not what we are, and then not tell us exactly what we've actually created or invented. Like my grandfather, just my grandfather, not my great my grandfather, um, he's a doctor, like his brother psychiatrist, very highly intelligent inventors and beings. These are the originals, right? The Moors. These are the original, the creators, the builders, the doctors. This is where we come from. So we have to take. We can't focus just on February and say we're gonna dedicate February towards a month where we're gonna just find out about our roots. No, we need to do that every single day. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
So
good.
right,
We need to be doing that every single day where we're visiting places like Louisiana, Egypt, Africa, whatever it is, so that we can unravel and figure out who we are and where we come from every single day. That way, they can't spend a whole month telling you where you came from and who invented what and so on and so forth. So go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
I'm listening. No, keep going. That's
Oh,
exactly.
okay. Because it's
No,
going,
go
the
ahead.
phone's cutting in and out. But yeah, so when I mean, just when we went to Louisiana, it's like my whole DNA, my whole vibe. I felt my ancestors there. We learned about the Zulu. I didn't know that the Zulu parade was the first parade that happens, and then it goes into the Mardi Gras, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
so just learning like Zulu. So you think it's Zulu. So then I thought, okay, so what does that mean? If my family's from Louisiana and they're talking about the Zulu, I think we need to start learning about the Zulus now, right? Okay, because that means that has to do with something of my bloodline. Do you understand what I'm saying? Instead of going to ancestries.com, we need to tap in to our ancestors because they will guide you. And that's why I tell people about the food, because when you start eliminating certain foods that you're eating and eliminating the people that you're around, then your ancestors can start talking to you and start showing you who you are. And then next thing you know, you'll start meeting the right people. That way you do not dedicate just 1 month. And it used to be frustrating me as a kid. We only had 1 month. You mean 1 month? That's it. After that, we're talking about Christopher Columbus and we're talking about everybody else under the sun. But you give me 29 or 28 days, goes by
Short as
real
hell.
fast. You feel me? And then it's towards the end of the school year anyway. So we're gonna zoom past this real quick. We're gonna add Valentine's Day in there, which is another topic. You add Valentine's Day in the same month that you have Black History Month, and I think there's like a president's birthday. So really, we don't have that much time in that month to really learn. And I think they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're going into March, which is a long month for ironically. I don't know why I brought that up, but just ironically, that's a long month, and it's the March is supposed to be considered one of the busiest months, I believe. March Madness, that's what they call it, March Madness. So they distract you. They distract you in March because February, zoop, let's get this out the way. Oh, Black
March.
History. Let's talk about what's his name? Dr. Martin Luther King. Let's really focus on
Your
him.
phone went out. No way.
Can
You
y'all still hear
there?
me? I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. Okay. Let's talk about Martin Luther King. Let's focus on,
Right. There you go.
just the mediocre ones. Let's not dig deep and go further. Let's go 1400s. Let's go further back. We don't want you to do that because if you find that out, you just might find out who you really are. Heaven forbid you find out who you are, you stop hitting the snooze button. When you find out who you are, you stop hitting the snooze button. And that's when everything blows up. And that's what they're afraid of. So that's how I feel about uh, Black History Month. And when, as far as Louisiana is concerned, going there, man, open up so much. And then having you, Jason, there, of course, is the best. Because if you need a guide, this would be the best guide ever for him breaking things down from the buildings. I mean, when you see these buildings and you really look at how these buildings were constructed, there's just no way an average person could be making these buildings. I'm telling y'all, there's no
That's
way.
that's because downtown New Orleans was Washita capital. That the next episode we could even get in more to the Louisiana Purchase. All of Louisiana, like we were showing you guys. Look, excuse me. If Donald Trump wants to change this, we talked about it earlier. You see Louisiana up top? Where it's just the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico. You see the Yucatan Peninsula right there, right across the street. You see New Orleans, Florida, Alabama. All these places you find pyramids. Mexico. So that's why they want us to believe that we're black, because if we believe that we came here from Africa as slaves and that Christianity and the Bible and Jesus saved us from being savages and heathens, and before the Bible we had no culture, that erases us from being here already in America. And then we have a home because we can study America. We can go all throughout the Americas, the downtowns and sub-cities, and you will find yourself. You will find Moorish architecture all throughout the Americas. And that's what they're hiding from us, y'all. So once again, the definition of the Americans explains us. So we always have to remember that. If we refer to ourselves as black, we no longer look at ourselves as an American, because if this month it was American history, we could really say it's not about you Europeans, because the true definition says that an American is an Aboriginal, or those of the copper color natives found on the American continent by the Europeans. Therefore, there were already people living here. But if they could convince us that you and we as a people were not here, they can steal the land, just like Trump and them are trying to do right here. With Trump vows to end the Gaza war. Trump reaffirmed support for Israel. Trump's Gaza's clean out. Trump's Gaza's displacement. Because wherever they go, they create war, devastation, steal the information, the treasures, whether there's ancient structures, and they displace people. So in the future, they lived on the land, they create the history, and the people prior to who were on that land no longer existed. They do this wherever they go. They did it in the Americas. They did it in Egypt, Africa, the Australias, Europe, wherever these group of people have gone, they create the same thing throughout history.
So they don't sound very original. Like they're not that creative. You know, they have like.
Go ahead, because you always talk about the viruses and parasites, right?
Absolutely.
So do parasites have a similar trait? Do they feed on a host that's ignorant to them being leached on and vampired? And once someone realizes that the leech is on them, they have an opportunity to basically take the leech off?
Cleanse themselves and do it. Yeah, absolutely. Free choice. This is why we're having, this is what this platform is for, to help unravel the.
Keep going. You there? Lana, you went out. You there?
Hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Hello?
Yo, now
Hello?
I can hear you. You went out.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear
Hello?
you. We can hear you.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Lana. That's funny. So, as we were speaking of the Donald Trump, hopefully Lana plugs back in. We're going to get into the Mexican flag and Donald Trump, but well, oh, here comes device not connected. Here she comes back on. Go ahead. Are you there? Unmute. Are you there? Can you hear us? Lana, I see you.
I think we had some technical difficulties. Bear with us, please, if you can hear us.
I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Microphone check. What does the 6,000, let me see, I'm going to post this. What does the 6,000 Native American Trump is saying doesn't legally have birthright citizenship? What does the 600,000 Native Americans Trump? I'm not sure, brother Sage Mo. Let us know about that. Type it in the chat. I'm not sure, but what we're talking about with Sage Mo, like how Mahomes is mulatto and assisting Kelsey, the colonizers, the Chiefs playing the Eagles, and then the Philadelphia helicopter and plane crash. And then once again, who is labeled a terrorist? Who is labeled the bad guy for releasing the footage? His name is Muhammad. Coincidentally, an airport employee arrested for leaking video. They didn't want this getting out. So once again, no conspiracy theory. What would have happened if those videos weren't leaked? We see them saying that ice is falling out the sky now. So is America under attack? because that sure didn't look like a plane coming down. It looked like a fireball. It looked like something was already on fire. And so, once again, those who control the media and news can spin the narrative. And if they can spin the narrative on what we see and hear as a people, that means that the world is under a hypnotic spell, and that those who control what we see, hear, and read have put us under a spell of ignorance, and they control our reality. Because eventually, after all these rituals, whether it's the Super Bowl ritual, the months, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, and we do the same thing over and over, Black History Month, Valentine's Day, all these different things are rituals. So when we get up on Thursday, Friday, it's a ritual. When they tell us it's 10 p.m. in a job, all these things are rituals to get us, like I always say, in the time loop, but also demonizing us as a people. And it's February, y'all. So all these things are distractions, once again, to take us away from who we are as the Aboriginal people of the planet. But now we can say it out loud, of the Americas, because we do have to remember, as it is Black History Month, our grandmothers and grandfathers, and a lot of our fathers and mothers, some of them weren't privileged or privy to the knowledge to teach us, or they grew up in an era where people were murdered and killed for having this information. So as we start closing out the show, the next episode, we're going to get into the Mexicans in the United States. We're going to get into the modern day Mexicans being Spanish and Asian, or are they Spanish, Asian, and African, or what you would call Mesoamerican, indigenous, or Moorish. So we're going to get into all that, because that matters into the reality that we're dealing with now. So as we close it out, I wanted to remind you guys, February, once again, All-Star Weekend, using the Giants, using us as the original Mesoamericans, the rubber ball people, the Olmecs, the Washita people, to create their economy. So Black History Month is really building up their wealth. And I want you guys to look at your Black History parades. Are they just dancing? Are they acting like clowns? What is the mission when you go to your downtown Black History parades? What is the speech? Are they going to talk about God again, how we shall overcome? Are they going to say that Jesus is going to come and save them? And you know, what is the mission that's going to be different for every Black History parade that's about to happen throughout America? Is it the same thing, we shall overcome? Are they using Dr. King again? And then look at where are so-called Black people compared to every other nationality. And then you'll see that there is no nationality in the word Black. And so we have to evolve. So Lonnie keeps getting kicked out, so we're going to end the show soon, but I just wanted to go through. We were going to talk about Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and showing you how when they started Black History Month, or Negro History Week, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, when they came out with the newspaper, it was to circumvent the Moorish knowledge going throughout America. So think of that, y'all. What if the Moorish knowledge was to be celebrated versus the Negro or Black history to be celebrated? Which has more historical value and knowledge to free our people to become great again? Because it seems that Black history still doesn't take us to a certain freedom of economics and land that we once had on this land. So we'll get into it. Once again, you're going to see the truth versus fiction in Black History Month for what's happening to our people while we assimilate. So once again, Black History Month, they're going to use celebrities to keep the time loop going, to keep the state of mind going, as you see right here. And so what have our people become being Black? Where are we as a people? Let's really think about it. Where are we? You know, when they show you the Grammys, these are supposed to be your leaders now, you know. So Sexy Red, I'm going to put this up as we end it. Justina B says Sexy Red's supposed to perform on an Old Navy ship for All-Star Weekend. This will one day be part of our Black History. Wow, sister. Interesting. And in Los Angeles, they had Gorilla. And isn't that something that a rapper, a beautiful goddess is named Gorilla, Glorilla, associating the Black woman with Meg the Stallion, another animal, right? And now Gorilla. Think about that. And then so Sexy Red. So what is that? And then so let's look at as we close it out. Thank you, sister, for bringing that up. Beyonce. Beyonce reaction to winning Best Country Album at the Grammys. So when we hear the word Black, it takes us away. So it says Eagles assistant coach Autumn Lockwood, much love, sister, set to become the first Black woman to coach a Super Bowl. Great and amazing. But when we use that word Black, once again, isn't that cringeworthy when they say the first Black female, as if being a Black person in 2025 to achieve that level is just the beyond amazing award, which we have to be thankful for the achievements. But where is that going when they say that you're the first Black person to do something, when in all actuality, we're the creators of the music? We're the creators of country. We're the creators of the ball games. But when we don't control the industry, we are still left broke as a people. And she said STD Red. So Sage Mo said ICE has also been raiding Native American reservations. Trump is saying at least 600,000 of them do not have birthright citizenships. Earlier this week, I believe. I didn't hear that, brother. I did not hear that. And as you know, the people who claim, because he did say that, he said years ago, he said the people who claim to be Native American don't look Aboriginal or Native to me. And so these people know they belong to secret societies. You know, I would say the rest of the world, or the majority of the world, especially the intelligent people, they know who we are. But for ICE, you know, we can get into that next episode. But for me, yeah, you know, they say that Black people are lazy, and now they're saying that Mexicans built this country. And for me, that's taken away our history, because one thing they're not saying is that the jobs that the Mexicans took were the jobs that so-called Black people were refusing the wages, basically. So instead of us getting paid proper wages, they brought in the so-called Mexicans and illegal immigrants to replace us with those jobs. And therefore, they were able to grow their economy, at least out here in Southern California. And now it's going worldwide. So what do you guys feel about that as well, you know, when it comes to that? Because when we talk about the Native Americans, I would say that they come from Siberia, they're Asian, and they're Spanish, which are Europeans. And when we look at the original Mexicans from 20, 30, 40 years ago, they were dark skinned, and a lot of them had curly hair. So where did they come from? They came from us. And so learn about the Spanish Inquisition, y'all. Learn about the Crusades. And that lets us know that the Crusades never stopped. So, and then once again, Will Justice says a stallion is a male horse too. And so once again, referring to ourselves as animals, referring to ourselves outside of MERS and Moors, Aboriginals. And then let's talk about it next episode, the flag. Look at that, y'all. How important flags are. Where is the Black flag? Is there anything such as the Negroid flag, the African American flag, or the Black flag? So when you see the Mexicans waving the flag, that's a culture, that's a nation, but it's also Roman slaves. Because whether they know it or not, Latino, Hispanic, Espanol is all the Catholic Church that basically colonize the indigenous people. So once again, we're going to have to get into that. The red, black, and green, yes, the colors. And as you know, if we learn that we were also here in the Americas, we're going to start searching for more of those statues, y'all. So we're going to get into Spain and the Moors. We're going to link it to Mexico, what's going on throughout the United States, and particularly California, why they're hiding the Moorish history, which is going to deal with the European woman. And once again, y'all, Moorish American, not Negro, not color, not black. So before we end it, as always, we're going to end it with this brother saying this week that I thought was profound, because basically all of this is about stripping us as Moors and Moors of our wealth, but in particularly black people. Black people, I would tell you this, black people are on their last whim of economics. Their goal right now, once they bring in the artificial intelligence and the AI, is to strip us of having jobs and having economic wealth. And so they use these entertainers and sports figures to make black people think that they own something and that they're progressing in society, when in all actuality, black people own nothing. But as Moors and Moors and Aboriginals, we own by birthright. This is our land, and that's where the wealth is. That's where the wealth lies. So as always, we're going to end it and show you guys solutions. By law, we have a 501c3 tax exempt nonprofit university, a virtual reality university, where students from around the world are going to be, well, you can right now when you guys sign up, go to thematrixuniversity.com. You guys see it behind me. You guys can plug into the headsets, eventually your cell phones, and we're going to have a community just like Facebook, just like StreamYard and Instagram, but in virtual reality. We're going to be able to do entrepreneurship. We're going to be able to travel the world, to Egypt, to Luxor, to China, and have conversations like we have in StreamYard and on Facebook, but in virtual reality. So we're not going to be left behind in the digital technology 21st century era, because that's what they're going to do when they bring out the robots, y'all. Whether it's an event that they create in these next 4 years to where people have to be inside, they're going to have to put on those virtual reality headsets. They're going to replace robots in virtual reality to where a hologram can replace a teacher. A hologram can replace a lawyer or a doctor or anyone at a drive-through. A hologram is going to replace so many different things that they can use a hologram and AI. And as long as you're in a certain circumference of a building with a topic, whether it's a bank, the bank teller can be a hologram, and anything you ask that hologram pertaining to the bank, the AI will be able to judge your voice, your tone. There's already cameras if you trip out. Same thing at the grocery store. Same thing wherever you go. They're implementing the robots and the holograms slowly but surely. And remember, they introduced that in Riverside County with the Tupac hologram. So imagine the holograms that you see on TV. What is real? What is fake? What wars were actually staged and really done on sets, just like the moon landing. So all these events, y'all, they are creating for a reaction. You know, they create these things for a reaction to siphon our energy, and they have these days and months to take us away from the true timeline that exists right now. So once again, here's an example of what we can do at the Matrix University. Welcome to the Matrix University Virtual Reality Campus. We're currently at the International Space Station, covering planet Earth. This is one of our modules here, where families, organizations, students, homeschool, K through 12, can come experience the gamification education. So let's go down to the space station and let's see what the Matrix University has to offer at the International Space Station. Whoa! And here we are. So let's slow it down. So you see the planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter. Which one should we grab? Let's grab Venus. See. Whoa, here we come for the basketball dunk on the International Space Station. No! So right there, we could talk about the planets in orbit. As you see, Mercury, and right here is a perfect example of the sun. It's beautiful planets around the sun. You can even pick up in real time. So right there, y'all, once again, that's the Matrix University. That's the International Space Station module. In each episode, I'll show you guys more. But as we close out the show, I want you guys to know we also are creating our meta world. So you saw how Mark Zuckerberg and Trump took out the DEI for the metaverse and all that. Basically, it's to stop so-called Black people and Moors from obtaining wealth in the digital realm, y'all. In virtual reality. So it's imperative y'all start rocking with the Matrix University. We have a legit university, y'all, to where we can build our members and organization and build our wealth and disseminate this information while building up our nation worldwide. Whether you're in Chicago, Louisiana, Africa, we can put on those headsets and disseminate information. And the Matrix University, we create illustrated books. So after you go through the university and you sign up, you have an opportunity to have illustrated books for your family, your children, and your organization worldwide. So once you go through the organization and build with us and you have your own book, now you're a lifelong entrepreneur. And someone said that they believe AI is going to be at the Super Bowl. You best believe they are. They're going to be reading people's eye expressions, what they already do, face recognition. They probably will have AI people like they had at the Rams game when they had the movie The Creator. People forgot about that. There was a movie with Denzel Washington's son called The Creator. And during that rollout, they had humanoid robots on the field and people they were not paying attention. In that movie, The Creator was really slept on because it's rollout time, y'all. That Donald Trump and them are basically showing you what time it is. They're gonna bring out the robots. They're going after the Palestinian Gaza Strip. Trump already said it. So whatever war that brings, but for the first time, we're gonna see the Mexicans and the white boys. That's going to be interesting how that plays out, you know. So you see them waving the Mexican flag in America, y'all. That's less attention on so-called Black folks, possibly. And once again, are we going to use Black History Month to cheer on the Mexicans? Much love to our brothers and sisters, because we don't want anyone to be displaced who knows and feels that they're indigenous and aboriginal to this land. But what we don't want is the racist Mexicans and the gangs coming here who don't like Black people, and then the Mexicans who have the mentality that they built this country. Because that's the reality right now, to where when you step outside, they'll say, we built this country. And it's like, yo, what do you mean? What about the Moors and Moors and the Black Indians? And then the slave theory that Blacks built the White House, or really the slaves or the Moors. The Moors built the White House. What about all the history of slavery? Oh, they're taking that out. And so now Trump is deactivating the education school system. What are you guys going to do? That's why it's imperative for us to build our own universities again. That's why it's imperative to hop into the digital realm and start building our own meta worlds. So when he took out the meta world, he didn't want this. So start hitting me up if you want to build your own meta world. We can break bread in any design and any idea you can have. For me, instead of Grand Theft Auto, I'm building a video game based off of what we talk about. So here's a quick demo, y'all. Imagine us all inside of here talking, building, instead of just on Facebook and Instagram. This is the future, y'all. So right there, Sage Mo, and that's an example of the demo that's there. But soon we're gonna release our meta world where y'all gonna join, and we're gonna have a community inside virtual reality, y'all. Moorish own, and y'all can build your own meta world through the Matrix University. So I'm helping other people. So as we ended, Sage Mo said, Trump said, repeat violation offenders. Thank you, brother. Trump said that repeat violation offenders will be exiled to another country no matter. Check this out, y'all. I want y'all to look up the Congo executed teenagers recently. So other countries are stopping violent gangs. So the Congo was like, F that. Any gangbangers, any people are getting that American hip hop mentality, because that's where it's coming from. Because if you're on your Aboriginal indigenous wavelength, you're going to not accept the assimilation. You're not going to accept the colonizers' ways. You're going to accept your ancestors' ways again and come together, unify, and reject that. You're not going to want to be a gangbanger and kill and rob your own people. What kind of madness is that? But look at the troglodyte. Look at the European next to him. Do y'all see that? Excuse me. These were Americans. So the European pale skin, he was from America. So I don't want to say European. He's an American, what they define as, but you know what that means. And then another American. So I don't know if their parents, oh yes, they said that they were there on vacation, staying with one of the friends, and the father forced them to join the gang. Well, the government didn't believe it, and they executed over, I believe, 200 or 100 of these Congolese teenagers. So what does Donald Trump have ready for them? Oh, let me show you. So there it goes right there with what I was showing you. Congo executed these kids, gangs. They were called the Kula Lunas. And right here, y'all, world's largest prison, El Salvador, new mega prison. Tough new prison for 40,000 gang members. So yeah, they're gonna build. That's why you see all these warehouses and stuff going up. I don't know if that's just a California thing or if it's America wide, where these abandoned warehouses and things of that nature. That's all for robots and that's all for prisons because they have a plan. Because Trump is already saying he's going to war with the cartels. He's going to war. So President Trump's plan to take down the cartels, restore all Trump border policies and fully secure border, impose a total naval embargo on cartels, order DOD to inflict maximum damage on cartel leadership and operations, disintegrate cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, or designate cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, choke off their access to global financial systems, get full cooperation of neighboring governments to dismantle the cartels, ask Congress to ensure drug smugglers, traffickers can receive the death penalty. So right there, y'all, they declare war on the cartels, and you see them in Southern California waving the Mexican flag. You see police officers all throughout Southern California, Riverside County, getting caught distributing narcotics and being part of the police department. So we already know that the cartels have infiltrated the government, the police departments, and you already watched the shows that they had a few years ago, the Narcos. So we already know that they're here. Where do you think all these taco shops and plant nurseries and Mexican businesses are coming from? Is that to say that Black people are all lazy and that this whole time that so-called Black people weren't able to gather enough economic base to open up Black cities and gather enough unity and love? You know, what is that? How were so-called Mexicans allowed to take over jobs? Like someone said, the maids, the gardeners, those were so-called Black jobs. The masonry, the carpenters, the blacksmiths, the builders for buildings. A lot of those brothers and sisters who had those trades down south moved to Compton in Southern California, and those jobs were taken. So in California, when you go past the freeways and construction sites, I want you to count how many Black men you see working those construction jobs. How many Black men do you see working construction jobs in Southern California? So imagine all that money that is out of our hands of Black men being able to open up our construction businesses and other businesses. So where are we as a people and what are we to do? You know, it's a state of an emergency. And now that uh, there is a stronghold, much love to all people, of uh, a Mexican presence in America, they don't have to hire you. They already have the DEI gone. So not only are so-called European immigrants who claim to be American aren't going to hire you, the Mexicans, they're not going to hire you. Go to the Mexican stores right now and see how many Black workers are in there. So what are you going to have in 4 years as a people if you don't have enough money to buy land, if you don't own anything in the industry when the AI comes? Because think of it, go look at the percentage of Black workers for Google. Go look at the percentage of Black CEOs for Amazon. Guarantee you it's less than 1%. So, you know, we're in a state of emergency. So it says food is more important than drugs at this point. Yes. Uh, my goddess always speaks of that as far as food, or live it. Instead of die it, let's call it the live it. That's where, you know, we're living to eat. So Sage Mo says food is more important than drugs at this point. The last 2 years, Georgia lost almost 90% of the peaches. Wow. The Mexicans will be working them farms, and I think the cartel war will be the next war. Wow, brother. Interesting. So let me repeat that again. So food is more important than drugs. Yeah, that's why Bill Gates bought up most of the farmland. That's why they're eliminating black farmers, because soon it's going to be no food or clean food. And what is next when there's no more clean food? They're going to use pellets, just like vitamins. What movie showed you that? Demolition Man. Demolition Man showed you Taco Bell. They said there was a franchise war over food. They said there was a war over food in Demolition Man. And we can get into that movie with so many things, but food is going to be one of the number one, and water, right? Thunderdome and knowledge. And this is why they have to keep us. Now there's no more black communities, or what they call the hood or ghetto. So black folks are now dismantled. What are you going to do? Where are we as a people? You know? And so the people at the ports knew what was up. They cut a deal that they won't use AI for another 7 years with higher pay. So explain that. The people at the ports knew what was up. They cut a deal that they won't use AI. Yeah, because that's going to take so many jobs. And although we have to use it and to compete, we have to use it. How are we going to use it to compete with the quantum computers? You know, they already have quantum computers. So they're telling you that they're gathering all of our data through all of these systems, the StreamYard, Facebook, IG, all this data to put into quantum computers to predict the future on how to control us as a people, no matter what color you are. But in order to control all of the so-called humans, they have to control the people who create the base reality, which is us. And so as long as they can create or dismember or disturb our frequency and have them create our reality, they're disturbing our real frequency, which is the Moorish Aboriginal treasures and wealth, and stealing our monuments and doing whatever in the ocean. Like there was a spill over 10,000 gallons of sewage waste in the Malibu Ocean. So things of that nature are going to be going down in the war, because once again, as we end it, it's all going to be over this, y'all. It's going to be over the Gulf. If we got it on here before I close it. I know I'm going, well, we talk about the Mexican flag. Here it is, right here. The Gulf of Mexico is going to be called, he says, the Gulf of America. And once again, Trump reiterates plans to change Gulf of Mexico's name. Trump still wants to bomb Mexico. So what is going to be the plan to eliminate the cartel, the immigrants, the gangs? Who, you know, they're saying they're not going to go up without a fight. So we got to pay attention to that. But while we use those distractions, this is why we build, y'all. We start building of us being already here as the Aboriginal beings. We no longer go with the Black history narrative of us being slaves. We're going with the narrative that we're the Aboriginal people of the planet. And for me, we are the extraterrestrials. We are the people of Mu, Lumeria, and Atlantis, high advanced civilizations who are intergalactic travelers who currently are living in a timeline to where they blew up the pyramids. And so if they blew up the pyramids and disturbed the mounds to where they're not active, to me, that's how the stargates and portals are shut down. And that's what they're stopping with the chemtrails. Not only are the chemtrails coming down and destroying the farmland to where things aren't going to be able to grow, to me, they're blocking certain things with the sun rays and codes that are coming in, and also disturbing possibly portals. And that's why you're going to see more openings and more spaceships and all those things happening as we close it up. So any last comments? You said, yeah, Elon Musk said the next God will reside in Memphis, Tennessee, the supercomputer they're building there. Well, that means that they found the computer in Memphis, brother, because the Memphites in the Memphis, as we know, there's a Memphis in Kemet, Tamaray, Egypt, but a Memphis in America, because we are those people. And so just like thieves, where they practice the bees and the colonization of bees and use honey, let's start learning what they use in Memphis. So everyone watching this, go type in Memphis or Menifee. They got a city called Menifee in Riverside County. But type in Memphis and type in the god Memphis and type in what was the theme, because each city in Egypt or Kemet had a theme. You know, just like when you go to UCLA, USC, Florida State, and then there's cities, they have a theme like Philadelphia, City of Brotherly Love, California, the Sunshine State. So there were themes, so things of that nature. And there we go to end it. Thank you, brother, for reminding me to put that up. So right here, y'all, they're showing you Elon Musk on Mars again. And so I'm telling y'all, it's gonna link up why Trump and Elon, the robots, Joe Rogan, Amazon River, Google, virtual reality. So they're so they're controlling the farmland because Bill Gates. So that means they're controlling the food. It's happening right now, y'all. They're already telling you that they plan to open up homes on the moon next year or this year to launch to Mars. And then Elon Musk with the AI robot rollout, working with the president, right? Working with the president. And here they just released that they found a structure on Mars, which we already knew that there was life on Mars. Watch the movie Total Recall and all these other movies that they talk about Mars, but we can actually factually go to our ancestors' knowledge when we talk about the MERS and Mars and how the Moors are related to Mars, like Marvin the Martian. But right here it says photo from a square structure on Mars posted to Reddit. It is indeed real. The image originates from the Mars Global Surveyor's Mars Orbiter camera. The original image can be viewed through Arizona State University Mars Image Explorer. And a person wrote that they did some scientific data. And it says, I discovered that the area of the base of the square structure found on Mars measures 13.64 acres, closely mirroring the Great Pyramid base, which also covers approximately 13 acres. Why? Because for me, as I teach, the pyramids are stargates. Just like they have airports, the pyramids and mounds were our ancient airports. And we were able to physically leave the planet and also able to destabilize our atoms, photons, and neurons through sound frequencies, through having either certain oils to walk through the Stargate. Maybe there was radiation. I can get into the hieroglyphs. And then also they had certain suits that they wore. And they also show you in movies and shows like the Stargate, how they had to have certain suits to walk through the Stargate. And we can get into Joseph in the Technicolor jacket and all these things. But yes, brother, Mars is going to be a reality, and watch Total Recall. And then that's going to get into the talk of us being possibly underneath the ocean, inside a dome, or inside a dome already. And then the story goes. So also people on Mars on a dome. And so in the movie Total Recall, if you guys remember, who were the aliens at the end of the movie? Who were the aliens in the movie Total Recall? It was the brother, right? The brothers, and they found pyramids on Mars. So if they can control the narrative like they were doing in the movie Total Recall, the Europeans basically invaded Mars. They started mining, and the guy said, oh, you didn't hear, they found Mars hieroglyphics dating back thousands of years. And the black Martian said, man, those are my ancestors. So right there, they're showing you that there's different matrices, y'all, and different dreams. And how do you know that we're not on Mars right now? And that they're calling this Earth. And that if we believe that we're on Earth, they can erase this being Mars and this being an apocalyptic civilization and us being the children and the survivors of an ancient apocalyptic war. So what about that? What if we're the children of the Matrix? What if we're the children of the divulge of a recent ancient nuclear war where they blew up the pyramids, where spaceships and UFOs were fighting in the sky and shooting missiles down, and when pyramid stargates exploded, people from other planets who might look humanoid and stuff, but we might have different ears and eyes and different things, and we got trapped here. So some of us actually are extraterrestrials who are not from this particular matrix. And eventually, I believe that we started having sex with different humanoid extraterrestrials. And eventually, we got trapped here when the stargates in our airports closed. And the further we fell, the more we lost our knowledge. So after probably every generation, so I'm thinking for me, for what I visualize and remember, we were advanced. And the further we fell into the matrix and got trapped here, we lost our knowledge. And so what they're doing today is they're making us believe as aliens, extraterrestrials, that we're progressing. And the only reason that we believe as aliens and extraterrestrials that we're progressing is that they taught us and programmed us to believe that we are black, and black doesn't have extraterrestrial origin or us off the planet and linking us further off the planet and then to other lands where there's people who look like us that are advanced. If they can convince us that we're spinning on a globe 1,000 miles per hour and the only way to get to another planet is through a European, that means that you're trapped here and that they control your reality and that they control your destiny. And that's exactly what they did when they went around the world with God and Jesus. They murdered us in the name of Jesus, spilt blood for us as Aboriginal and Indigenous people. And those of us who survived and they held captive or they would say sold out in a sense, they eventually taught their children the ways of the slave master. And eventually that knowledge got lost, y'all. But here through YouTube, through Instagram, through even the TikToks, through all these different apparatuses, we have to have these conversations where 40, 50, 60 years ago, or not too long ago, you were murdered or hung from a tree for saying this, for saying that you were Indian. That's why our grandmothers would be like, hush, because that basically they came from the generation. If someone found out that you remembered that you were Indian, they would kill you or not hire you or do something to your family to where they would break you. And as you know, if you're so-called in poverty, it's hard to get up out of that. And that's what they did. So basically, it became cool to be a sellout. And that's what became normalized. We have forgotten that we were colonized and assimilated. We have forgotten that our grandparents were forced to think this, and that also that we didn't know about COINTELPRO. We didn't know that some of our brothers were going to sell us out and do certain things for their own benefit. So when we talk about Mars, y'all, this isn't, excuse me. When we talk about Mars, this isn't spook talk. These are your top Europeans, now your top world leaders telling you that they have found structures on Mars and that they plan to take themselves and in a group of elite people, not you. They're not saying, oh, we're going to take black people and say, no. They're saying that they're trying to get up out of here. So why are they trying to go to Mars if this is such a beautiful planet? What do they have planned? And then they say colonize and occupy. Look at those words, y'all. Occupy. In order to occupy, that means that someone is already there. So who are the Martians? And that's when it's imperative we start once again studying our Aboriginal history. Because for me, it takes us to being the extraterrestrials. So Brother Sage Mo said, and have us vibe low in the root chakra so we act like animals. Yes, so we act like them. We act like them. So while they steal our knowledge and information and play it off like it's theirs, we base our reality off of what they feed us. And basically, they know that in order to rule over us, we have to be operating on our lower chakra, which we mean our lower vibration, which some would say opposite of us being gods. You know what I mean? And you know what that word is. So, as we start closing it out, and they had to block the sun because we would be like Superman, Sage Mo said. And yes, they blocked the sun. There's also a black sun behind that sun, and we talked about that last episode. And Clark Kent, and what is Clark Kent's real name? Is L something. Look, because the story of Superman is about a Moor, and he gets empowered by the crystals, and he gets empowered by the sun. The European doesn't get empowered by the sun. The sun doesn't empower the so-called pale-skinned European. That story of Superman is the story of Ka-El. There you go. Ka-El. So you guys look it up. Superman's real name is Ka-El, and they had a new Superman on USA. And when he went back to his home planet, it was ruled by a Moor, bro. It was ruled by a brother, not the Superman on WB, CW. There was a Superman on the USA channel, and it was about Ka-El. And who are the L's? The Moors and Moors. So once again, in the movies, they flip the script. They tell our story, and they put their face on it in the movies to make us think it's fantasy, but truly they're telling each other a code through Hollywood and the airwaves. They speak through Hollywood. So since they can't always meet each other in meetings, they can distribute these movies worldwide and get each other on code. Pronounce Kal-El, right? So Kal and Khalil, Kali, Califias. So once again, it all refers to us as a people. And that's what I want y'all to learn as it closes out. This world is based off of us, but this current world in society is based off of our ignorance. So the society ends when we wake up, because once again, no, we're not going to entertain their schools, their jobs, their poisonous supermarkets. We're going to take control of our ball games, and everyone's going to come to our stadiums. Everyone's going to come spend their money to see us play. Everyone's going to come eat our clean food and learn from the masters. And once we separate, we're going to have knowledge under the sun again. And once we're eating correctly, they're going to have to come amongst us in certain ways and have to break bread and spend money to come amongst us again. So that's why all of this is happening. So as we close it out, you see the Mexican flag and you see that Moorish building. So the Mexican flag, as we close it out, while the Mexican flag features an eagle, which could be associated with Roman imagery, the design itself is not directly Roman. The colors and symbolism of the Mexican flag primarily represent the Mexican independence movement, with the white stripe originally signifying the Roman Catholic religion, slavery, murder of indigenous people. So when Mexicans are waving the Mexican flag, they are saying that they are not celebrating indigenous culture. You're saying that you're celebrating the Europeans who came and murdered us as Aboriginal Americans, and Moors and Moors. I know people say the same thing is not anonymous, but come on, y'all. So basically, when they wave the Mexican flag, they're saying that they support the Roman Catholic Church religion that destroyed their ancient culture, which is our ancient culture. But now it's representing unity in general. The green stands for independence, and red for union between different groups involved in the fight for freedom. So we'll end it with that. So when we look at Latin America, they teach us that we didn't come here. They teach us that we came here through the Europeans and the Spanish. the theme of Latin America is not that we are the Aboriginal people. And until the majority of the modern day Mexicans can admit that dark-skinned, woolly-haired people are the original Aboriginal, prehistoric, pre-Columbian people who built advanced civilizations in the Americas prior to their race, which is European, Spanish, and Asian, mixed with us, it's going to be a problem because it's racism. And so right now, I would say the majority of those waving the Mexican flag are representing racism, and they're representing the erasage of Moorish history. And so the waving of the Mexican American flag, y'all, to me, is celebrating the fall of the Moorish Empire, the advanced civilizations that we will find in America. So we'll close it out with that. We'll see y'all tomorrow. And as always, I'm going to close it out with the cool, dope.
Cynicism is gone. We have faith in our leaders.
My sister, I know you've been reading the Bible, but as long as we say it's laid up, the wicked gonna keep it. But God says it's time for us to tell that money, you don't belong to the wicked, you belong to us. And I want you to get in the right place. Money coming to me now.
No limits.
Ed figures would do something.
It's the collapse of the American economy as we know it.
Money, money, money. Chasing Elm Street, Wood, master of the universe. Let's ride! Niggas lose their soul over dead presidents. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Bitches lose their soul over dead presidents. Dead presidents, dead presidents. George Washington used to own slaves. He used to rape my grandmother back in the day. Ruled by a beast that comes from a cave. Hang you from a tree if you don't obey. On the back of the $1 bill, I see a pyramid. All seeing I make a nigga go delirious. Dog, I am a superstar, I'm so serious. Revolution about to get bloody, period. Let me tell you something that they don't want you to know. We are not alone, I believe in UFOs. They stole all our land and they stole all our gold. Now they lock us in their prison, it's a business, don't you know? Cause niggas lose their soul over dead presidents. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Bitches lose their soul over dead presidents. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Benjamin Franklin was a diplomat. He was not a president. How did he do that? His face on $100 bill. That's a fact. Vampires, blood drinking, sacrifices, eating rat. Bitch will sell a soul for the